Okay, just to start your greenery garland I should say, you're going to need about 12 eucalyptus sprigs like this. I'm saying 12, but as we build upon it, it might be a little more than that because we want it to be nice and full and nice and long so it goes across the middle of your table, okay? So what you want to do is, originally I thought maybe we'd cut them down and just use 2 sprigs at a time, but I think what I'm going to do is leave it as a 3 so that's nice and full. And the idea is that we're going to cut the stem off pretty close to the foliage, and then we're going to build upon each piece of stem, covering up the stem as we go, and that's what's going to create the length of your garland throughout the table, okay? So you take your first bit, make sure you got your tags off, and make sure there's no like residue of a tag. Nothing worse than that when you're working with artificial florals. Take your snips, if you've got, I've got a nice big pair. I use this type usually when I'm using anything that's got a wire in it. However, I do have a little small one that I will use as well. Sometimes they're really nice to just snip off a few little buds on a stem. So I'm going to use my heavy duty florist cutters for this one. And we're going to cut it down like that. So I've just removed majority of the stem, as you can see. So we only want about 2 inches maybe of the stem on your eucalyptus branch. So I'm going to do that for another couple more. I'm going to get rid of the tag again. And this is really nice, like if you can't find a table runner that you really like myself, I find it really hard to find a cloth table runner. I'm doing this one for an event actually, so it'll be the focal piece of a tablescape. Instead of using a traditional centerpiece, I'll do a greenery garland instead. So just take a couple of more and snip those down. Make sure your tag is off. I already have some cut just so that we don't have to go through all of the cutting. It's a little bit tedious and boring, really. Okay. And there's a back side and a front side to eucalyptus. The front side of eucalyptus is very green. The back side almost has it's more of a white color. So there's definitely a darker and a lighter. So be careful about that when you're putting your garland together. Okay, so I'm going to start with my first piece. So I've got a bunch, like a ton of bunches here that I've already pre-cut. And you're going to need a big workspace in order to do this. My workspace is not as large as I'd like, but you know, we're going to deal with what we got. Work with what you have, right? So can you guys see that? Yeah, okay. So this is the first one that I cut. And like I said, there's about 2 inches there that we're going to have to cover over. The idea is that you don't want anyone to know how you've constructed this. So I'm literally going to build upon it on the table. And it's kind of nice because you'll see exactly how it will look on the table if you build it on your table. So what you're going to do for this one, florist wire, normally I use florist tape. I really like florist tape for putting together arrangements and bouquets. So I am going to start with that, but I'm thinking that we're going to need to wire some of the pieces together just because think of the movement of it. Like when you go to pack it away or you go to lay it out, each piece is going to kind of move individually. So you want to be able to have it so that it's really structured and you're not going to lose pieces every single time you go to put it out on your table. But the florist wire is the florist tape is really nice to work with. You just peel a little bit off for this so it's not, you're not using the roll and it's not cumbersome. I would just rip a little bit off and then I'd get in there and I'd go as far as I could up the stem. Can you guys see that? So we've got the stem of the original here, and then I've got the biggest stem of the second one. And that's what I'm going to attach to one another. It'll be hardier that way. If you've never worked with florist tape is really nice because it's sticky, but the heat from your hands is what makes it sticky. So just lay it upon itself and then start winding it around, pulling it tight as you're going. You want a good tight seal. Sometimes it'll break. Mine breaks all the time because I'm really rough with it. So just kind of hold it together, put your fingers on it, and as your hands warm the tape, it'll start sticking together and it'll stick upon itself. And the tape I use is probably about, well, I don't know, 6 inches long probably. So there we go. That's a nice tidy tape too. That's the other thing. Sometimes tape is not really tidy because generally what we'll do is we'll put satin ribbon or something over floors tape, but we're not this time. So you can kind of see it there. I've just used my fingers to make it mold together and put the 2 pieces on top of one another. So that should do that really nicely. And then we're just going to build upon it. We'll use another piece. And of course, as in all foliage, you're not going to get perfect pieces and all of them be the same, but that's the whole charm of it. So again, you've got about, this one's a little different just because of the way the branches are. You got about 2 inches of no greenery. You'll lay your third piece with a nice sturdy middle branch over top. And again, I'm going to use a little bit of floor tape. That's about 6 to 8 inches there. 6, yeah, I would say. And I'm going to go as far as I can so I got a nice sturdy garland. Go as far up the stem as you can. And the idea is that we're covering one another up so that you can't tell how the garland has been put together. That's what everybody likes about crafts. How when you look at a craft and you wonder, how did they do that? How did they put it together so that it looks perfect? I might have used a little too much, so I'll just tear a bit off and keep winding it around, using your fingers to kind of stick it into place. So that's a nice full piece. And because it's wire, after the fact, you're able to come in and you can, like when you go to lay it on your table, you can mold it together so that it's not like sparse and whatnot. I already see that I've made a mistake. Not that it's a mistake, but I've attached my top piece backwards, so there's more silver and white than there is the green pieces. But that's kind of nice too, because it allows you to have more visual texture. All about texture when it comes to florals. That's what makes it really interesting and beautiful. So you can even turn a few around if you wanted. There's no right way to do something when it comes to crafts. It's up to you how you want it to look. Everyone's is going to look a little different. That's okay. So this is our 4th piece. Same idea. Take your middle sturdy branch, attach it to the one before it. Use your floors tape. If you don't like the way that it's bunching up, like it looks like there's more happening where each one starts over top of the other one, just move it down a little bit. So I can do it like that way. I might move it up just a small bit. There you go. Again, we'll use some floors tape. I might not even need to use the floors wire, to be honest with you. This tape is going on really nice, so. Pull it tight so that it's got a nice grab, so you won't have floppy leaves when you take it out of its container to put it out on your table or to put it away. So see how I've got a bit of a space here? It looks like I've got a bit of a space. It's not really a big deal because again, we're using a wired eucalyptus, so you can just kind of mold the pieces together so that you've got a few pieces fall off, not really a big deal either. There's always like little stems that you can reattach. That might not have been the right one, but it worked, didn't it? Here we go, we'll use this one instead. There you go. So now we've got about, oh, I'd say that's almost 3 feet probably. 2 feet for sure, 2.5. And I want to do the length of my table, so I'm just gonna keep moving it up. Can you guys still see that? Yep, good. Okay, so this is the 5th piece. Again, you guys are pros now. You know how to do this. Just keep building upon each one. It's a little bit of floors tape. And you can get floors tape just about anywhere. Sometimes I buy mine wholesale. Depends when I buy my florals if I'll do that or not. If I run out, I tend to just go to Walmart and get a couple of extra rolls. My floors snips though, these ones I buy wholesale from a florist company because I want to make sure that they are the best that I can get so that I'm not continually having them break because of the pressure and the tension. So if you need a nice floral snip, I'd suggest having a look online for a professional set, or ask somebody that you know that if they're putting in an order, that kind of a thing, that you can get in on that order and order yourself some supplies. There we go, got that one done. Just push your branches all together. Number 6. I might flip this one up a little bit just to get a little more silver maybe. And you can flip-flop, go back and forth if you want. That's the nice thing about eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is probably my favorite greenery to use for any sort of floral arranging. It's hardy, even the real stuff is hardy. And the seeds add that texture that I'm always looking for. And again, we've got the two-tone color, which is always nice. There we go. And just move your branches in a little bit. That one turned out a little differently just because of the way that it was made. Same as in nature, just the way that it grows, it's a little different. I think we're on number 7 now. Okay, there we go. Gosh, you can tell already it's gorgeous. Wow, it's lovely. And it's kind of nice too, a big runner replaces, what I mean by big is a full runner like this that has a lot going on and creates clearly a divide between the sections of your table. It's not like you could lay anything on this and it wouldn't topple over. So it is creating a divide on your table. So the nice thing about this, rather than a centerpiece itself, is that you can kind of have fun and you can embed like candles and whatnot in through and add just that extra little bit of interest. During Christmas, you can add berries, or you can add like a frosted fern even, or lamb's ear, something like that's got like a sparkle and a softness to it. You can easily just add different pieces. Fall would be really great too. You can get some little pumpkins and mix that in through. You can do so much with this. And if you don't like it after, you know, I'm sure you'll like it in the beginning, but like everything over time, you kind of get tired of the same things that you have. So you can take it apart. It's easy enough to take apart, add different pieces to maybe a floral arrangement instead. You can use eucalyptus for a wreath. I use eucalyptus for wreaths a lot of times too. Again, we're just gonna go with another 6 inches of florist tape. I'm almost at the very end of my table, and I think, can't remember what my table is. I want to say it's 72 inches maybe, between 68 and 72 anyway. And I've got 6 chairs around it, so that'll just give you an idea of how big my garland is going to be. Now I am giving this away. This is for a friend, so I'm not 100% sure what size her table is because this is supposed to be a surprise. So normally I would call my client or whoever and say, hey, you know, give me the measurements of your table so I know what to prepare. But in this case, I'm going to ballpark it. And I also love things in floral arranging that is asymmetrical. So even if it doesn't fit her table and it falls to one side a little bit longer than the other, actually I hope that's what happens because it'll just be that much more chic on her table. I think we're at number 8 now. 8, 9, 10. I lost count. Let's see what we got. That's because I'm talking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6. So this is 7 actually. So you probably won't need 12 to do your table, depending on how long it is. Of course, I've got a mess. Workspaces are never big enough. I like to try to keep my workspace as tidy as possible too, because then you're not so overwhelmed. Sometimes people who are, even if you are crafty certainly, get overwhelmed because they don't know how to do their craft, or they're just unsure of how to start. If your mess keeps building upon itself, like mess in your home, same idea, it starts to get overwhelming, and you'll give up sooner than you should. You shouldn't give up at all, actually. If you've got any trouble and you really can't get something to work, and it happens to me all the time, especially with bouquets, if I can't get something to work, I just walk away. Take 20 minutes, go do something else, switch your focus, and then come back and review it with fresh eyes. Always helps. And if crafts are not fun, then you don't do them. Crafts are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be a way of letting out stress. So if you don't find crafting fun, more stressful, then perhaps you need to find a new hobby. Oh, I didn't take the tag off this one. I wouldn't want anybody to see that when you give your runner away or use it or whatnot. So I now, you can't see it just because of the way that I've got the camera, but on this end of my table, my garland is actually probably overhanging about 8 inches, I would imagine. So I'm gonna put number 8 on, and I'm also then gonna put number 9 on, and I will have the exact amount of overhang on both sides. So after all this is finished, I won't do it in the video, but I'll take a photo so that you see the overall product set up and staged, so that you get an idea of how it's supposed to look on the end. Okay, so what did we say? This was number 8. I've got 6 more inches of florist tape. I'm gonna lift this after too and just see how bendy it is. And if I don't like the structure, I will then go in and use some florist wire just to sturdy it up a little bit. Okay, so I just had an idea I will have to show you. Okay, so I'm just gonna move everything down a little bit. Can you see this? Okay, so we're now on the left-hand side of my dining table. So I'm about to finish it off with number 9, branch. Instead of laying it the same as we have been doing it, we've got this end now with no foliage. We don't really want that. We want the illusion that the whole thing has been grown in a long garland, correct? So what I'm gonna do is just reverse the positioning. So we're putting them all like this with the foliage facing right. What I'm gonna do with the very last piece is flip it or roll it, depending on how you want your coloring, so that the 2 inches of stem actually fits back up inside the garland itself. So you've got foliage that finish off one side and foliage that finish off the other side. No stems. We don't want to see any stems. And because of that, so you're going to see a little bit of a different look there too. Can you guys still see? Okay. So because we've got all this stem, we've got about 9 inches there that's not covered by any foliage. And if you put the last stem on top, you are going to have that break where there isn't any foliage. Even if you twist it, you know, move your branches around a little bit. So we're just going to shorten that one even further. I'm just going to move the stem of number 9 up through the garland itself, the last piece. So that's the look that you're going to get. Does that make sense? Okay, last piece, 6 inches again of florist tape. And I am going to do my best to attach this and not have it impede any leaves. You don't want to flatten down your leaves. That's the whole essence of the garland, right? Your leaves are the most important part. So try not to get any wrapped up in your florist tape. Okay. There we go. Whoops. Your fingers are going to be so sticky after this, it's not going to be good. Okay, so cover that guy up a little bit. Play with the leaves. Leaves come off, it's no big deal. They've got like little places that you can put them back down. There you go. And I've done my very best to hide that little bit of florist tape. So I am going to double secure this because what we've done is we've used a very thick end of a eucalyptus and attached it with florist tape to a very thin end because just the way that it worked out, I only had a little bit of the seeded stem in order to attach it to. That's not going to be enough to keep it reinforced. So I'm going to go back in and put another one on the last piece and attach it to the base of the second last piece that you used. So number 9 is going to be reinforced to number 8, where the thickest stems meet. There you go. That should work lovely. And you can bend your leaves so that you've got some good coverage. The nice thing about florist tape is that it's green, so you can't see it. Okay, so I'm going to just lay mine out like that so you can get a better look at how I put it all together. Literally, like what, 20 minutes maybe? I don't even know if it was that. There we go. So that's what it looks like finished. So when you go to set your table now, you've got a nice divisive line between both sides, and you can put your chargers out on either place and on either place over here, and then mix your candlelight in throughout so that you've got a really nice romantic kind of candlelight look. Thanks everyone!